Alright, hello you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about the Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 3, our most comic booky episode to date. This is going to be a full spoiler review for the episode itself, so if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. But if you're new to this page, please hit that subscription bell. We are diving into lots and lots of movies and TV on this page, but all from the lens of a comic book fan. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and every week on a live stream, I break down my favorite 9 comics I think you might dig. I've also got a show over at DC Studios called DC Studios Showcase, so very excited and personally and professionally invested in Peacemaker as a comic fan and as someone that wants to share thoughts with you from the perspective of loving comics. Let's talk all about this episode. I'd love to read your comments in the comments below. Please let me know what you thought of this episode. Also, press like while you're pressing buttons. Okay, Peacemaker. This episode was really interesting because it felt like a comic. This felt so multiversal. This felt like it was reading like a run where someone goes to another universe. It felt like, you know, your Earth 2, your 1602, your various Elseworld. It does a really good job doing just enough that feels different, that you can feel the offness, but not playing it up too much. I think that's a lot of the lighting choices. I think that's having the puns as store names. I think that's having Harcourt just different enough. A really good work by the actress to play her so innocent and bright-eyed, but it doesn't feel inauthentic. Neither version of her feels inauthentic, which is good acting. Jennifer Holland's doing a really good job acting, and therefore you feel like this is a world where she is this innocent. I love that the episode, this is probably my favorite cold open. I love that the episode opens with Rick Flag Jr., who we have that association with. I talked a lot last week in my review about Rick Flag and how we are endeared to him, how he was the hero, how Peacemaker in that story was the villain, and how that greater served Frank Grillo's father figure. Like, he plays the dad of Rick Flag. He's Rick Flag Sr. But I didn't consider Rick Flag Jr. coming back to remind us how much we liked him, to give us a different take. And so when we opened with Rick Flag Jr. in the opening of this episode, I immediately leapt to Elseworld. I was like, well, they're together in this Elseworld that's going to be brutal. And then I was like, yeah, they even mentioned Rick in episode 2. It was like a subtle little mention. And then when it was revealed that it was our universes, that Harcourt's been hiding that the whole time, that she ever would tolerate her guy's killer, like that she would ever hook up with the guy that, like, that was a crazy moment. What a great use of multiverse to then jump into our new universe in this episode, the multiverse that he killed the other Chris in, to go to that world and see them kind of together, but in a very different way. They're both a lot more sensitive. He's an army guy, but he's very all thumbs. He's very, messy, disheveled, clumsy, and clearly very jealous, versus the calm, cool, and collected Rick Flag Jr. we had. And then she, accordingly, is also like sundress and adorable and happy and free-spirited and all the things we don't have with Harcourt in our universe, who literally goes to bars to get in fights, who is crazy yoked and able to handle herself in a very different way. I like that she still works at Argus. I like that she's still an authority. I like that she's still smart and commanding, but those little differences make a very different Elseworld presentation, which I really dig. And this also felt like a comic in that it was an action issue. It was Peacemaker getting to do what he does best, but not in costume. It was like we've got to take care of these at once. I liked seeing him disarm people. Kill a lot of people, but end them. But I liked seeing him take out the Sons of Liberty, who are not a big thing in the comics, by the way. They're in like 8 issues. Like, they're not a huge organization, but Sons of Liberty are people that in some runs Peacemaker could align with. They're overzealous, they're passionate, and they are blind to anything except their way, which is part of the strength of Peacemaker. He will kill anyone in the name of peace. Like, he's a very hypocritical character. He's very direct. He's got one goal. And if you guys have never read, there's a Peacemaker run, Peacemaker Tries Hard, that's incredible. It's got one of the funniest running Bruce Wayne jokes about a dog that I've ever read. It's very good. And the current Eagly double feature is a Vigilante story and a Peacemaker story, and you can feel the writing shift according to the show. The Peacemaker double feature comic is a story navigated by, consulted by James Gunn, but with 2 writers writing in this voice. But even the Peacemaker Tries Hard, you feel this shift in who Peacemaker is. And I love that in this episode, it's a guy in a shirt and leather pants, and it's so clearly Peacemaker. There's so much that John Cena has brought to this role. It feels like a different character now in all the best ways. So seeing him grow and evolve and be a better person, and the way he's trying, and her noticing, and all those things, the brotherhood, his real brother that didn't die, that's the big twist. And this feels like such a commentary on the butterfly effect of, like, I'm sure in his mind he's wondering if this universe is so good because his brother never died, because there's the trio of them, or if it just happens to be, I mean, I'm sure he's blaming himself times 100, but there is that question of like, is this better because everyone is alive? And also the way he's treated, the reverence, the, I killed these guys and they see the heroism of what I did. There's the celebration of it. Everything Peacemaker's ever wanted. Best dimension ever. So now we're waiting on the shoe to drop. Like, something's got to happen. We've got to have something happen in this universe that everything comes crashing down. At the end of the episode, we go back to our universe, and we're going to find out what happens there. He even says he's going to be, gone a little bit. Very curious what the next episode brings. In our universe, we got more Tim Meadows. Again, a delight. What an actor. So funny. But we also got our first Michael Rooker, an Eagle Killer. We're gearing up to take on Eagly. I'm worried still. Do not harm a feather on that bald head. But yeah, it's cool to have these two parallel universes running, and it actually felt multiversal. It's cool to really care about, our family enough that I worry about Economos, who's totally everyone's little bitch no matter what pocket he's in, and he's trying to be his own man. We'll see if that happens. We have Vigilante continuing this season's bit of being an expert and knowing nothing. We've got, Waller's daughter that is navigating her lack of employment and what she is to this group. I really thought this episode would be either more Waller-centric, Waller's daughter-centric, or Vigilante. I was wrong. But it's really cool to see Chris as a guy, like in his own ideal scenario. There's also a lot of songs with dream in them, like this very, obvious needle drop of like, this is his dream, this is his ideal. What's that going to look like when he comes back to our universe? Where Harcourt won't give him the time of day, where his friends love him, but he's got to deal with all this stuff, where he can't, seem to keep a job, where there are things working against him all times, versus the dream universe of everything literally bright and shiny and comic-y. How's that going to play? So I assume that's what we're going to dive into next week, which is the halfway point. It's an 8-episode season. Next week is episode 4. I personally really dug this one. I think each episode's gotten better and better for me. First episode, a lot of fun. Great tie-in to the growing DCU. Second episode, bringing in Frank Grillo, really establishing Argus and really establishing, the brokenness and growing from there. This episode, a fun Elseworld episode, but really feels lived in. Both universes feel lived in. Again, I love Argus as like this government operation. I love seeing and exploring the pathos and morals and ethics of who Peacemaker is. I loved having Rick Flag Jr. back. I really think it's going to mess us up when Rick Flag Sr. is our antagonist, and it's justified adjacent depending on how he handles it, and that is really impressive writing. So I'm digging the season. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also hit a like on this video for the algorithm to grow. Also, please, if you're not subscribed already, you made it to the end of the video, clearly you liked what I had to say, please subscribe to this page for lots more movie and TV reviews, as well as comic reviews and news. Lots of stuff coming. I'm digging the season, and I'm really digging the DCU growing out in such a comic-y way, and the DC launching a universe seemingly with all these multiversal ramifications and consequences of the incident in Metropolis and all the names of the settings and stuff. It feels so big and lived in. We're already running in such a fun way, so I'm really digging that. And that's thanks to the confidence of the MCU, and that's thanks to how far the MCU grew. So I think, when I go to the comic store, I'm not going to the DC store, I'm not going to the Marvel store, I'm not going to the Image store, I'm going to the comic store. It's really cool to see these universes strive and thrive. So yeah, comment below. Let's talk about stuff. We will see you next week for episode 4, as well as lots more this week. Bye, guys.